Hey, what's up, Chicago? And welcome back to another episode of Speak Your Mind Radio. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Queen Star, aka Miss Hip Hop. And today we are celebrating Father's Day with the man of the hour, my father, Leo. Hey, Leo.
Hey,
Happy Father's Day.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. So how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. This is a great day. Every day is a great day.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Every day is a great
How old are you?
day. I'm 76.
That's a beautiful number. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I'm hoping to be 77.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking for the next year.
definitely. And those
Yeah,
are golden years, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's actually beautiful. So let me ask you a question before we jump all the way into it. What's the difference in being like 50 than it is 76?
Well, some things change and some things remain the same. Uh, so, age is just what it is. Your brain doesn't have gray hair on it. So it remains the same. So I remember things that when I was 50, 40, 30, 20. So it's not a it's how you look at yourself and how you look at your life and what's going on with you all of the years that you're here. Every year every day you should learn something. So this is a accumulation of many years of learning a lot of things and seeing a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely. Which brings me into our icebreaker question that we do on each episode. Um, how do you feel about President Biden actually acknowledging and turning Juneteenth into the 12th state federal holiday? How did that make you feel?
It made me feel pretty good because being that he has the biggest megaphone in the world. What it does is it draws attention to things that we knew, some of us knew, but all of us need to know. In Texas, they were celebrating Juneteenth for a long time, and it's remarkable, and it's kind of tragic when you kind of think about it. Is that throughout history, we have been miseducated. Things have been left out, erased, not even talked about. So as a result, some of the things that history should have in it that relates to us and our condition in this country has always been just a mystery. All of a sudden, oh, Juneteenth, what is that? And we're thinking, oh my goodness, that's nobody knew about it, and this Juneteenth is just one thing, but there are many things other than that has I would say been left out and escaped history, especially American history.
Yeah.
As it relates to us.
Yeah.
Juneteenth has always been celebrated in Texas for a long time because they used to. I remember one of the things that they had. As a matter of fact, singer Joe Tex years ago, he had a song and he was talking about, we know you all celebrating June 19th down there in Calabasas, Texas, with barbecue and red soda water.
Wow.
That was a tradition, and I'm not exactly sure what the red soda water was. I know the barbecue and the big thing, and I'm not exactly sure why that was, but there's history behind that also. So, but the rest of the country, you said Juneteenth. What is that? I remember I just got since it's Father's Day, I got a Father's Day a message from a friend that I worked with, and she said, you told me about Juneteenth 10 years ago, and now I'm just finding out exactly what it is, So, it's some of the things that I guess they didn't want to be in history, or they thought that it was going to generate a certain response, so they just kind of left that out. So I'm very happy that he decided to make it a federal holiday, because that's one of the things that it needs to be a federal holiday. It's like Martin Luther King Day, it's a federal holiday, but in some states they don't celebrate. I think in Arizona they celebrate MLK Day,
Wow.
But you need to know that there's a day.
That's right.
Instead of just wiped out.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
And I think that's important for that, a lot of part of the history not to be wiped out. And you're right, Martin Luther King was the last federal holiday that they gave us back in 1983. So that's right. A long time coming, you know what I'm saying? And yes. The fact that you or I and most Americans didn't know what Juneteenth was, may have heard of it, but didn't really know what it was. So let's kind of like break that down for the generations before us that maybe did not know it, or after us rather, I should say. Now Juneteenth is basically, in my own words, is like a symbolic meaning to Independence Day here, celebrated in the United States. This is celebrating the end of slavery as we know it. Those people, those African Americans in Texas, they didn't know they were freed until after 2 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Proclamation of Emancipation. That's horrible, because they didn't know until 2 years later. So that's why I feel like it's so important that a president like Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris were like able to come together and say, you know what, we're going to make this a federal state holiday, and we're going to acknowledge those past wounds into today, because if we don't acknowledge it, then we can never move on and feel that freedom of living in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, it is. It's correct. It's as I say, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. We have many of our leaders have always talked about making sure that this is in history. We didn't live in this country and not know what this country, how it was founded, who did what. We were given little simple, simplistic, irrelevant things to think about. We had a little poem when I was in grammar school. It's called it was something about Columbus. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, something like that. Blah blah blah. Discovered America. Which we know now is absolutely false. But the thing is that this was taught, and so the miseducation is one of the problems that we usually we're confronted with on a constant and almost a day-to-day basis. So one of our great leaders, Carter G. Woodson, wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. A miseducation, not the education, but you would have been miseducated. So and there are various reasons for this. Sometimes if I don't tell you history, you don't have any a sense of where you came from, how important you are as it relates to the rest of the world and especially the United States. So we were always taught that our history started with slavery. And we didn't have anything else going for us, but we were brought here, and then our history started. Which is one of the reasons they have a problem with the 1619 Project. Our history didn't start in 1776.
What's this?
That's
Yeah.
That's one of the things that, you know, we're constantly learning things, and it's good. It's good. Everyone should learn, especially us. Especially us. We should know these things and celebrate them and understand what they are. There are others who already know this, but don't really want to acknowledge it. I'd put it that way. Yeah.
You brought up a good point about I believe it was Malcolm X that said that if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
If we don't look to the past for answers, then you're going to be desolated, and you're going to be that feeling of stuck and stagnated within your own region, your own district or whatever. So my thing is, here's one thing I've tried to put together as a rebuttal. Here's one thing. Now, what sparked the civil rights movement was back in 1955 with Emmett Till from Chicago that lynched that little boy in Mississippi for quote unquote whistling at a white woman. That was the first beginning of it. Now, here in 2021, what sparked that resolution again, so to speak, is George Floyd. Okay. So George Floyd, he did not die in vain. He is a part of this history, and this is sparking yet another civil rights movement for people to. It's something you can't ignore, you know, and you won't know these things unless you, like you said, look to the past.
Right.
So, with tying that in with Juneteenth just being celebrated yesterday as a state federal holiday, I'm very happy about that. I can't stop saying it. His brother, Terrence Floyd, he made a 6-foot statue of his brother. Because this is not something that we're going to forget. You know what I'm saying? This is not something that we're going to continuously sweep under the rug. We're not doing that anymore. Everything is resurfacing. Everything is a reset. And this is something that I want to go to New York. Well, it's not going to be in New York by the time I get there, but it's going to probably be in Jersey. The statue, I need to go see that, commemorate it, with my eyes, to know that I lived during this time, So that's like very important or whatever. I'm just excited about being an American at this time, at this precious time that we're living in, this pandemic time. It's a plan that's being unraveled for all of us.
Right.
Let's see. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just agreeing with you. That's a good point.
Definitely.
We need to, when we have these commemorations and things, we should be a part of it. We should go, if it's somewhere, we should go and see it. One of the things that happens is that we don't become involved. We don't bring ourselves to a situation so we can learn more. Knowledge is one of the things that is going to separate us. Remember, when the slaves were free, the first thing that they did was start establishing schools.
Wow.
Because they knew about knowledge. It's what you don't know that will cause you pain. And then they had a thirst for knowledge. This is why we cannot overlook or try to put that in another portion of our thought processes when we don't think about what do we know about certain things. A miseducation is something that destroys us, causes us a great deal of pain, especially us. We have situations where we're constantly fed misinformation, and then we spread this misinformation. Not going by and back and checking and saying, well, wait a minute, how did you know this? Who told you that? Where'd you read this at? I didn't read it, somebody told me. Well, who told you? Who told them? Well, I don't know, so that's how we get our knowledge. We used to laugh about the old saying, if you want to hide anything from us, just put it in the book.
Right.
But that's really a factual. You know, we don't we shy away a lot from the things that will give us true knowledge, and accept the things that are easiest for us, you know, the TV, the radio, and somebody telling us something, instead of us doing our own research and finding out. And one of the things, when you do your research and you find out, the very first thing you become is angry, because you said, well, why did they tell me this? Why did I know this before? Why did it take so long for me to find this out? Well, they told me this. They told me that the Alamo, fight in the Alamo in Texas was between Davy Crockett, Sam Houston, Jim Bowie, and all these people that they used to have on TV and different little series. They were fighting against Santa Anna, the Mexicans, because they wanted to establish Texas, and they wanted to be in Texas, and then they wanted to drive the Mexicans out. That was completely false.
Wow.
Completely false. What the problem was is that Mexico said, okay, if you want the United States, it wasn't part of the United States. Okay, if you want to come here, you can have your land here, but guess what? You can't bring your slaves. We don't, because Mexico, we don't have, our slavery was abolished in 1830 something. No, you can't come here and establish a town or whatever and bring your slaves. No, we don't have slaves in our territory, because Texas was part of the Mexican territory as was California, as we know. So because they couldn't bring their slaves, they said, oh no, we're going to have to fight this. So this was the fight, the Alamo. And we were taught in school that, oh no, they were fighting against the Mexicans because the Mexicans didn't want this, and that was completely false. The Mexican government said, you can come here and you can establish your towns and you establish your farms and that sort of thing, but you cannot bring your slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh no, if we come, our slaves have got to come too. So that was part of our miseducation, you know. And I was very angry about that too, because on TV, you know, it's since I'm so old, I can remember that on TV, they used to have they used to have a series called Davy Crockett. Mm-hmm. Davy Crockett, he wore a raccoon cap. So all the little kids would run around with raccoon with a cap with a little tail on it. They had like a raccoon. You know, that was Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett, and there was some other guy named Jim Bowie. He was supposed to have one with a special knife that he had, a great big Bowie knife. And there was Sam Houston, who was actually he became the governor of Texas, and that's why they have one of the cities in Texas, Houston, was named after Sam Houston. He was a soldier. But all of these things were just myths, you know, something that they just thought that they would give us so that we would not know that, wait a minute, the reason that they didn't want you here because they told you couldn't bring your slaves. You said, no, if we come, we got to bring our slaves, because slaves were money, were valuable. Well, this is money. Slaves were more valuable. We were the most valuable thing in the world at that particular point in time. Slavery was humongous business. All of the textiles and the cotton and all of the other things that we were able to dig out of the earth, and because of our labor, because that's what we were here for, is for our labor, with nothing else. We weren't here because, you know, it was we just needed more people to populate the United States. No, we were here to work. That's what we were brought here for. So it was just amazing how we've been taught and learn different things that were completely wrong, completely different. But it served the purpose for someone to keep us that way, because that way we didn't become hostile or angry because we were taught something different. You know? So it kept us more or less in check.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's amazing just to hear you say that story about the miseducation of black people's history in America, which brings me to a hot topic of the hour, which is the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. Like, a lot of people didn't know about no Black Wall Street being burnt down or why or anything like that, because like other things of that happened in history with Black people, that they try to dismiss it. How do you freaking, and I just learned about it, really, you know, I heard about it, but I didn't really quite understand. But how do you come to a town in Oklahoma, Greenwood district, and bamboozle everybody, try to drive all the Black people out of the town? Because here's another story of a Black shoe shiner that was allegedly attacking a 17-year-old a white operator, elevator operator. And when you hold him in custody and then let him go, he runs back to town, and you're circulating a news headline talking about nab this Negro, meaning lynch him because he didn't violate a precious entity of theirs. You feel me? And then you come and bomb everything. You kill everybody. I don't understand that, and it's not even talked about. It wasn't even really documented. So how does that hit you psychologically?
Well, you know, I thought I already mentioned the fact that one of my co-workers once told me, sent me a Father's Day message, and she said, well, you know, you told me about Juneteenth 10 years ago. Now, just imagine, I told her about Juneteenth 10 years ago. I just learned about it 10 years before that. And I told you how old I am. So why did I know about that? And I'm gonna tell you what they did on all the books. They said, well, in around 1920, 1919, 1921, we experienced in the United States something called a red summer, which means that it was bloody, a red summer. Now, the red summer was supposedly so that you would know that there were riots in cities like Tulsa and Chicago and Detroit, a lot of New York, a lot of different places. They weren't really riots. What they were is they were an extension of the Jim Crow situation, where the African Americans were gaining power and also resources. So when we were going through Reconstruction in the 1890s, 1870s, we were actually able to accumulate things like land. We actually had political power. In South Carolina, we had two black senators and almost the whole state legislature was black, because we were allowed to vote. They didn't want that. So what happened is that they didn't tell us anything about Tulsa. What they did was they found out that this group of blacks were attracting other blacks to Tulsa. This one particular area they called Greenwood. And in Greenwood, they had established movies. They had established grocery stores. They had about 24 grocery stores, about 7 to 8 hotels, a couple of movie theaters. They had about 10 or 12 doctors' offices in this area, in this one area. So they had banks. They had 2 or 3 banks. They had everything that we would want in a community. They had it, but it was all black.
Right. And
so what happened is that, and they were not only prosperous, they were extremely prosperous. They had automobiles. They had the best of the best. Their homes were just beautiful. They had big, great, beautiful pianos and everything in their homes. So the other part of Tulsa, the other side, they were extremely jealous. They were extremely jealous because they saw, number one, that they had more than the other side had, and that they were gaining power. They were gaining power, and they had the resources. So during that summer, there was a time when they started the Ku Klux Klan started rising up again. By the way, the Ku Klux Klan was the home base is somewhere in Indiana. I'm trying to remember exactly where, but I can't remember right now. It'll come to me. But anyway, the there was a white surge to try to take back what they thought that blacks were gaining. Mm-hmm. So there were uprisings. There were a lot of lynchings in a lot of different towns. And the key things the one key thing usually was that here was a black that had attacked a white woman. It was always black man, white woman. But what I guess it meant that, well, if this black man impregnates this white woman, that they're going to be more of them than they are of us. One of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade, because there are more white women that get abortions than black women. So that's exactly what they're trying to do, to stop the population of minorities exceeding the population that they have now. And they really can't do anything about it, because it's projected in 2050 that they're going to be minority anyway. So any regardless of what they do. So, but anyway, this was always a issue. So what they wanted to do was to take back this power. So as a result, what they did was they fabricated some situation where they thought, okay, well, let's get this black man, because he tried to rape this white elevator operator, this teenage girl. And she later said he didn't do anything, he just actually stepped on my foot. And she screamed, and he knew that if she screamed, it was going to be an issue. So he got out of there. She was an elevator operator in a store. A building, excuse me.
Yes.
So he left, and they came, they got him, and they were taking him back. But here's the thing. During that time, there were a lot of black soldiers that had just fought in World War I, black soldiers. Mm-hmm. So they said, no, you're not going to lynch anybody here. So they got their guns, and they went into the police to where he was held. And they said, you're going to have to let him go. You're not going to lynch him. You're not going to lynch anybody. They had their guns there. And I think one of the guys one of the white guys that was there said, hey, nigga, who you think you pointing that gun at? And then the black man said, I'm pointing at you. And you step forward, I'm going to kill you. So all of a sudden, he tried to hit the black man, and a gun went off, a shot went off. So everybody scattered. So that night they decided, okay, well, we're gonna get rid of all these Negroes. We're gonna get rid of all these N-words, as they call them. So we're gonna. What do we have to do? Well, first of all, it's not enough of us. So we make sure that we have all of the law enforcement will be with us. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and we're gonna get our guns. We're gonna wait, and then next morning, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into this section called Greenwood, and we're gonna kill every black person that we see. We're gonna just shoot them down. So he said, well, how do yes, this is what we're gonna do. So that's what they did. They went in, they started shooting. They were shooting every black person that they could see. The people couldn't call the police because some of the police were with the people who were killing them. Some of the farmers had airplanes that they used for crop dusting. It was a little old airplane, double wing propeller airplanes that they flew over their crops to dust their crops for using insecticide to kill different things so that their crops would grow. So they had them to take their airplanes, get bottles of kerosene, and fly over this area and drop kerosene on top of the buildings that these black people had. So as a result, when the kerosene hit it, there was an explosion. So you had fires on top of the building. Mm-hmm. So this was, I think that they said this was the first aerial bombing of a city in the United States history, and that's what they did. They bombed these homes that were occupied by blacks in Tulsa and in the Greenwood section. So as a result, you had fires. You had I read one account where one of the survivors, she was a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And the mother told her to go hide under the bed. All the kids hide under the bed. They hid under the bed, and the white guys came in, and they set fire to the curtains. They set fire to the curtains and burned the house down. But what they did first was they looted and they robbed all of the people who had things like they had jewelry, money. They burned up the bank, so they burned up all the money that the blacks had in the bank. So it was you had no money. Now you burn your house down, and they went in and stole everything. If you had jewelry or whatever, something valuable, they robbed your house, then they burned it down. When you were outside, they shot you and they killed you. Shot you in the street, shot men, women, little children. It didn't make any difference as long as they were black. They just shot them. Now, what you have now is a lot of blacks leaving and running and trying to get out of there. So all of a sudden, you have all of these black people that are shot dead in the street, black bodies everywhere. So what do? Go and get these trucks, pile all the bodies on the trucks, take the trucks out to one of the cemeteries and bury all of them together, and never said anything. No grave markers, no nothing. When the newspapers or the media got a hold to it, they started trying to write articles about what had happened. They came in and made the news media take out all of the things that they talked about in terms of the riot, and it was just that they had an insurrection. So this is what I mean when they buried all of the people, they also buried the news about what happened. So they didn't want anyone in anywhere, because if it's in Tulsa, pretty soon it might get in Washington D.C. and get California. So people are going to read things that, oh, that happened in Tulsa. What happened? So they made sure that was never published or given a way where someone would actually know exactly what happened in 2019. So that was what happened in Tulsa. Now with the bodies, they buried all the bodies. So as a result, they could not find out where these bodies were buried. So right. All of the descendants, they had no way of knowing what happened to my mother, what happened to my grandmother, where are they? So the survivors didn't have any way of knowing where these bodies were. It's just now, in the last few years, the national, I don't know if it's the geological survey, the National Geological Association and some more scientists have come up with a particular type of machine that can go into areas and detect something that is beneath the ground and see the abnormalities that are in the ground, and also make sure that they can tell that something is there. The same thing they do with in Egypt when they're trying to find lost tombs and things like that. They can take these machines and they can detect that there's something buried there. Right. So what they've done is they found different areas. Found an area where they've gotten bones. They've gotten a couple of skulls and that sort of thing. So they're on to where a lot of the victims were buried in this mass grave area that they did, but they never told anybody about that. You know, so it's really just it's horrible. You know, but what they did to make sure that you never got a full sense of what happened there. They always put that into the stories about the Red Summers of 1919, 1920, Red Summer. So it's like, well, what happened to Red Summer? And they may mention Tulsa, but they don't give you any indication of it as to exactly what went on and what we suffered. You know, as a matter of fact, there's a you ever heard of the Gap Band?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a GAP. That stands for Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. Oh. Yeah, they were members. They were all from Oklahoma.
Oh.
And they were they were all from Oklahoma. I think a couple of them went to Langston University. You know, and they had their that was their way of letting everybody know that something happened there. Mm-hmm. You know, so this the Tulsa, the riots were really something. Because it was so horrific. It was so horrific that when people got just a glimpse or a tidbit of what exactly happened, they were just horrified. You know, so you went into a town and they destroyed 1,000 homes, 36 blocks, burned them to the ground, to the ground, ran all of the people out. You know, it was just horrific. So that's part of what happens when people intentionally bury history and make sure that you don't have a sense of what it is that went on, so you can go on and make sense of different things. You know, so right now they're having a problem with as I said, this critical race theory, because they say, well, we don't want white people to start feeling guilty about something. Well, you know, it's if that's what you feel guilty, you feel guilty. You know, but the truth is the truth. You know, so you can't not say anything because you want the people to continue to feel comfortable about situations that they need to know about and feel uncomfortable about if necessary. You know, these things that we're learning about make us very uncomfortable. What about us?
Right.
You know, we've had throughout our history to feel uncomfortable about a lot of things.
Yes.
You know, we're always made sure that we know exactly that, oh, you're the first, you're this, you're that, you know. So we haven't been given an opportunity to live this American dream, as they say, in its fullest, like some of the people who have never had to even experience even being around Black folks, other than the fact that they watch them on TV or whatever, or watch them on sports events and things like that. But other than that, they have no contact with them. So they live in a world that does not that doesn't exist in our realm. It's just totally void. You know, we cannot help but be affected by white folks. They can live their whole lives and never be affected by you at all. Exactly. At all. And some of them, you know, since you've been to school, some white people probably told you, no, this is my first encounter with a Black person this close, because I never had to deal with Black people at all. I don't know anything about you all, you know. Right. So, you know, it's just it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's so important that just listening to your experience on it. There's still some survivors of Oklahoma Tulsa massacre, like Viola Fletcher and Leslie B. Randall. They told their story, and that just touched me like to my core, because just to know the fact that they're actual survivors and they're still coping with what happened not almost over 100 years ago, because this May was the anniversary of the massacre. And just to listen to them talk, and her and her brother, it was just sad. I just think that we as a people really, really, really need to continue to use power as knowledge as power, so that we won't, go forth any longer without teaching our kids, where we've been and where we've come from. It's just so important. I do have a question for you though. Feeling that okay, so hold on, I'm looking through my questions. There's one thing that I feel like is like that resonates with me as like an American, the fact that we do have so much trauma to come from. We have a healing process, and I feel like that it's just unspeakable for I feel bad for not knowing so much of history. I feel really, really bad, and I don't want my kids, when I say my kids, I mean not my biological kids, but the kids that I will be around, not to know these intricate details of where they come from. Because even if you look to the stars, literally you looking up into space, you're looking into past, and that's how we gain our knowledge and everything. So my question to you as a father and a friend and a school teacher, how would you feel that we could generate generational wealth amongst our people, starting all the way back from the massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Like, how can we as a people build that same momentum up for wealth for our people? When we leave, we need to leave something behind.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways, and there are a lot of believe it or not, there are a lot of African Americans that have developed systems and situations where we can develop generational wealth. One of the there's several. As a matter of fact, there's several black banks that we have. I think first One United is one. A very, very nice bank that has a mission to help us develop generational wealth, and there are a lot of different African Americans that have set up different websites that have that deal with stocks, investments, how to manage your credit, how to do all sorts of things that help us with this wealth disparity. One of the things that I always talk about is, I always tell people when they're talking about, well, what about reparations? I said, well, number one, we don't want money. Not money. Money's not the only. No, because he said, well, if we give every black person so much. No. If you gave every black person $50,000, somebody else is going to get the $50,000. What are you going to do? We're going to go out and spend it. So you're going to get it all back. That would be the easiest. That's the easy thing to do. Well, give. If we go out and buy a car, buy a house, whatever, but we're giving the money back. So what about investing? What about something that says, well, for one of the part of the reparations bill maybe should be that we get rid of all student debt. All African Americans get rid of all the student debt. Okay, well, and also, we're having problems trying to make a tuition bill. Why don't we have tuition free? Why don't we have it tuition free for African Americans? Why not that? So what we don't want to do is get into reparations mean money. No, well, reparations mean repair of something. So you really repair something by just giving money to it, because it'll break down again. You know, we want our generational wealth will last maybe 24 hours. You know, so we don't want that. What we want is something that's lasting.
That's right.
Lasting. Right. That's what we need to have. What they were afraid of in Tulsa is that they saw that they were getting ready. They were seeing generations grow up that said, you know, yes, you know, I know we're going to go to school. We have such and such and such and such, and my father told us this is how we have to do such and such. Yes, we have a farm and we know how to do such. So they were seeing that, we're having problems now, because they no longer feel dependent upon us. And if you're dependent upon me, that means I can keep my power.
Right.
And it was about power. A lot of this rejection that you see in the government with some of the Republicans is about, I just want to keep my power. I just you know, because I know, number one, I can't let everybody vote, because we don't do enough for people, then they're not gonna vote for us. So if they don't vote for us, then I don't have any power. I want to keep this power. So we will do anything necessary. Some people say, well, how can you sit up there and lie when you know such and such, such? If you want to keep power and you want it the way that they want it, there is nothing that you won't do. Nothing, absolutely. You can eliminate the impossibility, because there's nothing that's impossible, nothing that I won't do, and absolutely nothing. Yes, I will see a riot and call it, well, you know, it's not what you think, you know, that old thing about who you're going to believe, me or your lying eyes, you know. Right. So we have a situation where we need to have we need to start making sure that these things that we have that are available to us, that are actually out here already, that we take advantage of them. You know, I can't give you the names of the different corporations. I mean, different individuals that have set up different wealth gathering situations for us. I can't give you the name of all of it, but if I'm doing do my research and go back, I'll remember them, and I can give them to you, because there are a lot. There are a lot, and they work every day, and the problem is that they're fighting against knowing this, because there are a lot that don't want us to know certain things, and as a result, you know, if you want to reach some people, and you have somebody that says, I don't want you to reach them, because if you do, then this is going to happen. Then you have to fight against that also. So that's one of the things that they are fighting against. You know, so I know there are a lot of different radio stations. I mean, there's some talk shows on some on Sirius XM that are very, very, very good. I know one especially as good as
Karen Hunter.
Karen Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she's the bomb.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the bomb. Yeah, she has a website, Narrative, and it's great. It's great. You know, I'll give you some more information on that a little bit later, but it's great.
All right, cool. Also, the AC Green show in Chicago, I think that they are desperately trying to help, you know, people with their money issues too, as far as like housing is concerned, and you know, things of that nature. Mortgages need to be paid, especially during this pandemic. So we do have to pay homage to the people that are out there trying, you know.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Leo. What are you doing today for Father's Day? What are we getting into?
Well, I'm getting phone calls and everything. You know, I get got one from the great Josue, you know. Yeah, no, he's in Hampton now, you know.
No, I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. So yeah, he's there sweating, you know. He's real human, and I'm doing this. This is one of the things I'd never done. I've seen people do it, but I never thought I would be able to do it. But so thank you very much, Miss Star.
Oh, you're welcome, Father.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look,
yeah.
I'm just happy that I have you in my life, because you were the father figure that every little girl should have. You know, growing up, learning about mannerisms, you know, culture. You always took us to cultural events, and you know, just you know, being taught by one of the best teachers, you know, just period, you know.
Thank you. I mean, that's well, that's I'm just thankful that I was able to do that. You know, this really that's what I can say. You know. I think somebody well, a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, we were talking, and a friend of mine sent me a check for $125. I said,
Wow.
What's this for? He said, you know, about 8-10 years ago, you know, I called you. I said, I need could you send me $125? You sent it, you know. And I was doing something in my attic, and I saw this IOU thing, and I said, oh, let me say this. He said, I'm thankful that. I said, well, you know what? If I sent you $125, I'm just glad that I was able to do that. You know, so that's all. I don't look at that as being something that said, well, you know, he never sent me my money back. You know, if I was able to do it, I was able to do it. If I get it back, fine. If I don't, it's still something I was fortunate enough to do, because I did it thinking that I was helping you. You know, and which is what I was. He was really. I said, you know, I didn't even think anything about it, but thank you for the money. You know, yeah, it did help, but I wasn't going every day thinking, well, this guy still owed me $125. It's been 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever.
Dang.
But whenever you throw something out, you do it in a good way, you'll get it back.
That's right.
No question. There's no question. So whatever I've done, you know, I'm just if I contribute to anything that you know, I'm just grateful for it. You know, I feel that it has not been in vain at all. I'm just thankful.
Amen. I am super very grateful, very, very grateful.
I'm just I'm just happy to see you, a bright, searching young woman. You know, yeah, that's all the gratitude I need. That's it. I don't ask for anything else. You know.
I feel you.
Great. Very proud of you.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. Like, seriously, I only want to make my parents proud, and that's
yeah.
important.
Very proud. Very proud.
Thank you. What they say, the key to happiness is a bad memory and a good sense of humor.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that. Yeah. I will have to remember that. That's good. Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
All right.
I really appreciate it. You know,
like I say, I did my first podcast with my daughter, but with one I love. Okay.
Yes. Hearts all the way up. Period. And you guys out there, you know what I'm saying? Thank you all for listening. It's been a good 2 years. This episode 256. So happy. And happy Father's Day to all the listeners out there and to your families. And yeah, just thank you so much for riding with me and rocking with me. And if you all enjoyed today's show, please donate to Speak Your Mind Radio at pay.me/speak your mind. And yeah, and remember this, just because a man has money in his account doesn't make him better than anybody else, period. That's my word for today, okay? All right. Any last words, sir?
Yeah, I heard somebody say this. They said, what's really important is not who we are to other people, is who we are to ourselves.
Namaste. Yes, that's so true. Ashe, for sure. That is like truer words never spoken. It's always your own judge of character. If somebody else is trying to throw blasphemy at your name and trying your character, that's when you have to stand up for yourself and know exactly who you are. Period. Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you again, Leo, and have a beautiful rest of your Father's Day because you deserve it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Peace.
Peace.